Hey.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Сегодня мы читаем Шримад
So today we are
Бхагаватам,
reading
5 песню,
Srimad Bhagavatam,
глава
Canto 5,
14.
Chapter
Материальный мир
14.
как лес наслаждений.
The material world as the great forest of enjoyment.
Верно? 9 текст у нас сегодня.
So text number 9, if I'm not mistaken.
Санскрит сможешь прочитать?
Хорошо, попробую.
So can someone please read Sanskrit for us?
Перевод текста.
So the translation of the
Иногда
text.
обусловленный человек видит перед собой представительницу прекрасного пола, которую называют прамада, сводящей с ума, и любуется ее красотой. В такие минуты ему словно
Sometimes, as if blinded by the dust of a whirlwind, the conditioned soul sees the beauty of the opposite sex, which is called pramadā. Being thus bewildered, he is raised upon the lap of a woman, and at that time his good senses are overcome by the force of passion. He thus becomes almost blind with lusty desire and disobeys the rules and regulations governing sex life. He does not know that his disobedience is witnessed by different demigods, and he enjoys illicit sex in the dead of night, not seeing the future punishment awaiting him. So remember, this chapter is called The Material World as the Great Forest of Enjoyment. See, this picture is very material. The material world is created by the mind of a person. And in this chapter, it is also an image of our thoughts. So we have to try to imagine our existence as a forest with the help of our mind. Well, of course, the material world, material life, is also created with the help of mind. So everybody thinks that he can do whatever he wants. He thinks that if I do that, no one is going to even witness it. That's why in Bhagavad Gita it says that mind is both an enemy and a benefactor. It creates an illusion of material enjoyment and happiness. But we have to see the real picture. So we have to do some rethinking. So one point of view is known to us through lust, through joy, and only thus we can understand this world. And the other picture is when we can be based on the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this material world is just a place for enjoyment. And then we may see that this world brings a lot of problems. So that's why in this case,
образом.
These texts are trying to help us.
Как вдруг он может нас освободить от иллюзий с помощью трансцендентных текстов Srimad Bhagavatam.
So we have to look deeper into the
Карма,
transcendental
которая
texts of
встречает
Srimad
человека, она
Bhagavatam.
реализуется затем его в будущем.
So karma is realized
В будущей жизни или в этой жизни.
in a
Как эта карма
person's
реализуется,
life
как
in the
это
future.
с течением долгого времени созревает.
So it kind
И
of
так или
ripens
иначе это происходит
as
также в уме.
the person
Потому
grows
что
and develops.
люди по-разному реагируют на разные обстоятельства.
And also people, they react differently on different things.
Одни люди страдают в определенных обстоятельствах,
One people
думая, что это
suffer under
проблема.
certain
Другие
circumstances,
в этих же обстоятельствах не думают, что
but the others, they do not even think
от
about
ума зависит от
having done
настроения.
anything
У
wrong.
всех страдать.
So it all depends on the mind.
Заметит эти проблемы или просто не заметит эти
So
проблемы.
some person might not even
Как говорится, есть
notice
оптимисты,
any
есть
problems.
склонные к депрессии, вот они по-разному.
So there are some people that are prone to depression.
Протекающие
They
вокруг.
feel this world differently.
Это умонастроение.
So this is called a set of
Есть,
mind.
конечно, часть,
And of
существенная
course,
часть кармы, которая не относится ни к плохим,
there's a
ни к
part of
хорошим
entities
поступкам,
that does
ни
not
к
even
высшим
belong to either
делам.
bad or good.
Это постоянно какие-то наши действия, бытовые, не знаю, перемещения.
So
Ничего
these
из
are our
этого не
actions, like
составляющие для нас
constant
в жизни. Это тоже
actions
карма.
that also bring
Она
some
тоже
karma.
реализуется.
And it's also
Но
realized.
много такой кармы реализуется просто в снах.
But a lot of this karma is just
В снах
realized
тоже
while
можно
we are dreaming.
передвигаться куда-то, просто вещи непонятные делать.
During
не
night
имеющие
dreaming,
никакого
we
смысла.
just move somewhere, we do
То есть
something
часть этой кармы
that we don't even
реализуется
understand.
в снах, в уме, потому что карма реализуется именно в уме.
You know, in other words, it's realized, this karma is realized in
Если
our
нет
mind.
кармы, человек не видит вообще причин для беспокойства.
If there's no karma, a
Даже смерть.
person does not even see any
Нет
reasons to
кармы,
worry.
не считает, что это проблема, потому что душа вечна.
He doesn't even think that there are any problems because he knows that the soul is eternal.
С помощью ума мы обретаем, человек может освободиться вот от таких
So your
впечатлений, от таких страданий.
Your consciousness
И
grows and you understand that
часть
you can
кармы
actually get liberated
создается,
sooner or later.
как бы, сны, когда у человека нет кармы, то создается сверх душой, то есть это уже реалистичные
When a
события.
person doesn't have any karma,
Неважно, где они происходят, но вот это как раз.
and this karma can be even realized while you are sleeping.
Ну и вот здесь описывается один из моментов, что происходит в лесу, наслаждение в материальном мире. Прамада.
So it's called pramada.
Прамада ожидает каждого.
Enjoyment
здесь.
in material world, it's awaiting for anyone
Наслаждение в этом мире.
that is here in this material world.
Встретиться с прамадой. Неминуемая встреча будет.
It's inevitable for you to
Для
meet
каждого
pramada,
мужчины предопределено увидеть прамаду.
to come across with it.
Женщину, которая его сведет с ума.
It is predestined. You
Сильно
will
привлечет его и сведет.
meet a woman that will
И здесь сравнивается
drive you crazy.
со смерчем. Ну, собственно, это уже комментарий идет к тому, что
You
тема
can
аллегории,
actually
которую уже
compare it to a tornado.
Джада Бхарата говорил, уже как бы разъясняет, что
So
смерть
Jada
это
Bharata
явление,
used to say,
вызванное вот бурей вот этих желаний,
and all
этих
this
созерцаний,
tornado of
красивых
desires
Эта красота имеет огромную силу для
can be
мужчины,
compared to this beauty, to beauty of a woman.
возбуждающий характер,
It's a great
и
power.
засыпает глаза пылью. То есть
It's
он
like
не
throwing
видит вещи,
dust
как они
into your eyes.
Вот, это прамада. И
So
он
this is
буквально
called pramada.
бросается в объятия этой женщины,
So this
под
person
влиянием
just
страсти,
throws
и эта
himself
страсть
into
лишает
the
всякого благоразумия,
hands and arms of this woman and he just enjoys
Ну,
life.
конечно, когда человек вступает в брак,
Well, of
вот
course,
это
when a
впечатление
person gets
публичное,
married,
люди говорят, ну, если так, если ты чувствуешь такое
let
привлечение,
us
ты должен
say that,
жениться,
well, of course, if you feel this attraction, you have to
Зачем?
marry this woman.
чтобы вернуть благоразумие.
Why? In order to get
Вот
your
исполняя
bearings
свои
back,
обязанности, благоразумие вернется, то есть разум снова вернется.
to get your intellect back.
Но здесь
And
пока
wisdom.
просто говорится, что вот человек хочет
But
наслаждаться.
here's just said that, first of all,
благоразумие,
any
осознанность,
person just wants to enjoy
он
life.
приступает эти границы, недозволенный секс имеется в виду здесь, недозволенный, он приступает к границе, потому
Well,
что теряет
illicit
благоразумие,
sex means cheating
и нарушает все религиозные предписания.
and violates all the religious regulations. Well, modern people say, why do we even have all these limitations? This is our natural attraction. It is connected with the health of our bodies. Everything says, okay. So we just have to let our feelings go. We just have to trust nature. But no, it's not so. You can't just trust nature. Material nature is dangerous. So these people, they do not even know what kind of danger is awaiting for them. So lie, anger, irritation, aggression, hatred. These notions is also nature. So it doesn't mean that you can trust it. You have to understand how to direct your mind, where to direct your mind. You have to always understand what direction to direct your mind. First of all, you have to be wise. A person should follow regulative principles. Now we have a lot of special courses, seminars, engage in senior devotees. Oh yes, and ordinary people sometimes are interested in Vedic culture. They get enlisted to these courses. They like to study the psychology of Vedic culture. But these devotees, they notice an interesting thing. If these people are just ordinary people and they come to us to study, there are so many things that they simply do not understand because their life is not regulated. They're not leading regulative lives. They don't follow any regulative principles. So you see, some of them, they do understand what it is said in these holy scriptures. And they feel really amazed by all this knowledge. So this realization, it does come to them. But only people that follow some regulative principles, they can only they can understand what it's said, what it is said in the Holy Scriptures. So then let's read the purport to this text. In Bhagavad Gita 7.11, it is said, sex is allowed only for the begetting of children, not for enjoyment. One can indulge in sex to beget a good child for the benefit of the family, society, and world. Otherwise, sex is against the rules and regulations of religious life. You see the same principle. Everything should be beneficial for your family, for the society. So people not following these regulative principles, they just don't understand it, they don't get it. So a lot of people say like, why do you even tell us these things? We don't understand what it is. So back in time, a new person that used to be as a military person, so he started quarreling with Prabhupada regarding this illicit sex. So Prabhupada said that it's not okay to do that, to engage in illicit sex. That person didn't agree. He said that, why are you saying that I'm committing sin? I like having sex with people. Why are you saying that I'm committing some sins? So you see, people get really upset and even offended when they're told that your sexual orientation is not correct, or you having illicit sex in your life. People don't want to hear that. They don't like it. So that's our society is now passing some special laws to make it all legal. They want to solve this problem on a social level, based on some laws. Only brahmachari has a peace of mind. Of course, he might be a family guy, but still, inside he's brahmachari. Having the same mind. So the main thing is that his mind is peaceful. So the main problem in the age of Kali is the absence of brahmachari ashram, the education of brahmacharis. So that's why this text is extremely important. So now we're talking not only about men, but also women, of course. So they have to practice spiritual life. And of course also beautiful women. So we have to remind to each other about the spiritual life. This is called the personal life. A materialistic person does not believe that everything is managed in nature, and he does not know that if one does something wrong, he is witnessed by different demigods. A person enjoys illicit sex, and due to his blind, lusty desire, he thinks that no one can see him. But this illicit sex is thoroughly observed by the agents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the person is punished in so many ways. See, there's a very interesting detail. This person is punished by demigods. See, the destiny of this person is shaped in a way that he will definitely suffer. So since demigods, they control the natural elements, the earthly elements, they will make this person suffer from these natural elements. And this person, of course, he'll be blaming all the people around him. You see, when everyone does the same thing, it becomes a law already. Now, internet has taken over the planet. This pandemic thing, it's you have to understand that this is a consequence for committing a lot of sins. So people think that this is just a law of nature. So therefore the person is punished in so many ways. Presently in Kali Yuga there are many pregnancies due to illicit sex, and sometimes abortions ensue. These sinful activities are witnessed by the agents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and a man and a woman who create such a situation are punished in the future by the stringent laws of material nature. So you see, we cannot even stop these punishments. It's impossible.
И это невозможно преодолеть, очень трудно.
and it's impossible to overcome.
Предался Кришне. Признается чистым, даже если в прошлом совершал грехи.
So someone who surrenders to Krishna, he becomes purified.
Итак, суровое наказание, потому что кто-то наблюдает, полубоги
So
конкретно
because
наблюдают.
you see
Ну,
someone
говорит
is always
сверхдуша,
watching you,
но сверхдуша наблюдает
demigods,
полубогов.
the super soul,
Не в плане наказаний. Она сама никого не наказывает.
see, it's not the way we think of
Она
it.
сама говорит, душу невозможно
It is.
не убить, не расчленить, не растворить.
So remember, you
сжечь,
cannot
наказать её
kill
невозможно.
the soul ever. You cannot burn
Это
it.
нужно делать материальным способом.
You cannot split it.
Поэтому
I mean, it's
сверхдуша сама это
impossible.
не
The only
делает.
way you have to give it a lesson, you can give it a lesson, is do it on a material plane.
Санкционирует по законам природы, потому что законы природы представляют полубоги.
So that's why demigods, they present the laws of the material nature.
Как
That's how they punish the soul.
органы власти получают дозволение,
It's like
скажем, судить
they are
человека,
authorities.
обыск, ордер на арест там выдают, и они получают дозволение и делают это.
That's like an order for an
Сам
arrest.
государь как бы не занимается этим.
But the king
Но даёт
himself,
как бы санкции,
which
да,
is the god,
разрешает
he does not do that.
таковой закон. Здесь говорится конкретно,
It's the
полубоги
jurisdiction
наблюдают
of
непосредственно за этим.
Demigods.
Сверхдуша это не мужчина, не женщина.
The super soul is
Находясь
not a
в
man or a
материальных
woman,
телах, он не становится ни мужчиной, ни женщиной. Он наблюдает всё по-другому.
and if it's the super soul in the body of a man or woman, it does not have sex, does not have
Без
gender
которого не
anyway.
работают никакие другие законы. Но сам он не является как бы этим как бы законом материальным.
The super soul is not this material law.
В этом смысле.
We have to understand it.
Бог является конкретно проявлением этого закона личности. Но тем не менее, поскольку трансцендентное око наблюдает, все происходит правильно.
But since the transcendental eye is watching over us, everything is controlled.
Всегда к нему можно обратиться и очиститься.
And you can always call to God and ask for forgiveness.
Представители Верховной Личности Бога следят за мужчинами и женщинами, повинными в этом грехе, и строго наказывают их по законам материальной природы. Тем, кто вступает в недозволенные половые связи,
So illicit sex is never excused, and those who indulge in it are punished
они
life
будут
after life.
расплачиваться за свои действия в течение многих жизней. Очень суровый закон, потому что в результате
You see, this law is very severe, because as a
серьезные
result
нарушения в обществе происходят.
of this sin,
Незаконные дети,
there are a lot of
нежеланные,
violations in the society. Unwanted kids, abortions,
и также разрушение семейных традиций. То есть
and of
религии.
course, the destruction of family traditions.
Тут, говорится, оправдания нет.
See, this is very serious, and there's no excuse for that.
Какие за прелюбодеяния там наказания присуждаются, не буду озвучивать, только к нам тупо, хорошо? Вот, да, ужасные, очень ужасные наказания, страшные наказания. Да, недозволенные сексуальные отношения, ну, конечно, есть разные степени, там тоже.
So adultery is
Но
a
наказание
serious sin, is a very serious sin. So I will not
вот.
tell you
В нашей
about
это не применяется, потому что
the way people are punished for adultery in other countries.
это подтверждается в Бхагавад-гите Асурим Йоним Апанна.
So this is all confirmed in Bhagavad Gita.
Мам апрапьяева каунтия ато янти атаммам гатим адамам гатим. Снова и снова рождаясь среди
Attaining repeated
технических
birth
существ,
among the species of demoniac
такие
life,
души не способны
such
приблизиться
persons
ко мне.
can never approach me.
В конце концов, они
Gradually they
опускаются
sink
в
down to the most
самую
abominable type of
высший
existence.
я. То есть незаконный секс порождает
See,
демона.
that's why illicit
То есть
sex,
сколько недостатков, да?
it gives birth to demonic life.
Сколько проблем.
See, so many problems, so many disadvantages,
Действия, в смысле, серьезные проблемы в жизни людей.
really serious
Ну,
problems.
сегодня это, собственно, массово делается, поэтому
Well, but today, you know, it happens
единственный
massively.
способ это сразу обратиться к Богу.
And the only way to escape it is to call to God,
Узнать о регулирующих принципах, узнать о Бхагавад-гите,
to find out about Bhagavad Gita, about regulative principles.
таким источником, тогда можно быстро
So you have
изменить
to
что-то.
call up to these
В любом
sources.
случае нет сначала
Only in this case
реакции, это ужасная реакция
you
общего
can be
разума,
changed.
и
Otherwise, you will
человек
have
Ну,
really
я думаю,
terrible
что без
reactions
манты человек даже не осмыслит,
for your actions.
даже получит реакции сегодня, потому что реакции носят массовый характер.
But usually people, they do not even understand why this or that thing happens to
Только если
them
кто-то с другой планеты придет свыше и
as a
скажет,
consequence. Only if someone
какой-то
comes
пророк должен быть.
from another planet, some
Люди
kind
не
of a
сумеют
prophet
разобраться в этом,
must
они
come down
окружены
so that people start believing.
окружены этими негативными последствиями и не понимают, что в чем причина.
It's just we're so surrounded by all these negative consequences, we don't even understand why.
Верховной личности Бога никому,
The Supreme Personality of Godhead does not allow anyone to act against the stringent laws of material nature. Therefore, illicit sex is punished life after life.
шастр будут наказываться за это в течение многих
So
жизней.
they will be punished life after life for several lives
Недозволенный секс
to
приводит к
go.
нежелательным,
Illicit sex creates pregnancies, and these
которые в свою очередь
unwanted
приводят к
pregnancies
абортам.
lead to
Аборт
abortions.
это очень тяжкий грех. И те, кто идет на
Abortion is a
такое
very
преступление,
severe
следующей
sin.
жизни понесут
Those involved
не
become
менее
implicated in
суровое
these
наказание.
sins so much so that they're punished in the same way in the next life.
От чрева матери.
Thus, in the next life, they're also entered the womb of a mother and are killed in the same way.
На трансцендентном уровне в сознании Кришны.
All these things can be avoided by remaining on the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness.
От любого греха, нужно очиститься.
So, of course, after committing a
Те
sin, you have
грехи,
to get
которые уже
purified.
проявляются, реакции, которые проявляются за наши прошлые грехи, и очищаться от тех грехов, которые
So, these reactions that you will have for your previous actions, they're supposed to purify you.
в такой ситуации. Но нужно знать лекарства.
So, you have to be responsible for them, and you have to know the medicine against
Я
it.
не кани чата, пани брама, ханти кани чата. Они тани прана шенти прадакшина паде, паде. Что там говорится? Все любят эту мантру. Преданные.
So, everyone, all the devotees, they love this mantra.
Какой бы ты грех не совершил, даже грех убийства Брамана, от которого, собственно, прощения нет.
Why? Because even if you had killed Brahman and
Но какой бы ты грех не совершил, даже убийство Брамана, ты освобождаешься от этого греха, обойдя вокруг Туласи.
it says that
Такие вещи.
you will
Но
get
Кали люди забывают, они становятся,
liberated after committing really serious sins, but
как сказал один сумасшедший саньяси,
if
лучше
you
спрашивать
surrender to
Богами,
God,
Туласи.
but in the age of Kali,
Хотя бы
it's
Туласи,
impossible.
Туласи что дает. То есть они думают, что у них
It's really hard to
не
attain.
будет никаких греховных реакций.
So people usually think that after committing some sins, they will not have any negative reactions.
Не переживайте. Ничего не нужно менять, когда мы читаем лекцию. Просто сидите, слушайте. Никуда не нужно ходить, что-то делать, кричать, выключать.
So please don't change anything
Здесь всё определено.
while I'm giving a lecture.
Кто-то подумал.
Do not interrupt me.
Не о том думайте. Слушайте, о чем речь идет. Тут Бхагаватам. Итак, Прабхупада здесь говорит, есть лекарство. Если
Prabhupada
оставаться на
says,
трансцендентном уровне,
There's a medicine,
что немыслимо практически, да, для
something
современных
that you
людей,
cannot even think of
не знают, как это вообще, что
for
такое
ordinary
трансцендентный
people.
уровень, достичь его не представляется возможным для них вообще, когда узнают об
For
этом.
them, it sounds totally
Но это возможно при помощи имени Кришны века.
unattainable, but in the age of Kali, everything is possible with help of the name of Krishna.
Они освобождают от всего дурного,
Just go up to Krishna and you get liberated.
от всего дурного. Вот включая вот эти все вот проблемы, которые будут описывать.
You can get rid of all your sins in the age of Kali just by surrendering to Krishna.
Много жизней вообще, то есть нет, это невозможно, потому что каждая жизнь еще совершает грехи у него, все равно это влечение.
Life after life, we commit so many sins, even against our will. That's why our existence seems to be limitless for us until you go up to a transcendental level. So being on a transcendental level means constant chanting of Krishna's name. That's how it can liberate us.
собственно говоря, его решение самое важное, его слова самые важные. И в Бхагавад-гите
So
он говорит,
his
что
words, the
если человек
Krishna's
совершает
words, are
самые
the
дурные
most important
поступки по
ones.
слабости, случается такое, но продолжает преданное служение и искренне
Of
раскаивается,
course, we all have some
считает его
weaknesses, but
садху.
no matter what, we have to continue
Этот стих, смотрите, все переворачивает.
devotional
Потому что
service.
Кришна говорит эту вещь. Он такой могущественный, он беспредельно могущественный.
Krishna is so
Спасает от всех
powerful.
грехов
He's extremely
любого
powerful.
грешника.
He liberates us all from all our sins.
Поэтому в наш век Кали очень важно распространять Кришны.
That's why
И,
in
конечно,
the
людям нужно объяснять,
during the age of Kali, it's extremely important to spread the word of Krishna, about Krishna.
Или войны, или много беспокойств, или сумасшествия какие-то. Они должны понимать, что на это есть, конечно же, причина.
There are so many bad things happening right now in the world, but we all have to understand that there has to be a reason for that.
Осознанно обратились.
It's not just a
Признавая,
coincidence.
понимая свое греховное положение, жалкое в этом мире, Кали-юге,
So you have to consciously understand your
они же еще и гордятся
pitiful
этим
position in this life.
своим положением, своими грехами.
A lot of people are just proud of it.
Вот какая проблема, поэтому нам нужно
So that's
распространять
what kind of a problem we
святое
have
имя, и
this.
философию, и
This. So
психологию,
that's
и
why we have to spread the holy name,
и образ жизни,
its
и питание.
philosophy, the
Прежде чем люди
lifestyle,
начинают понимать, какие-то вещи связываются воедино.
healthy
Сознание
nutrition.
Кришны, когда человек уже имя Кришны повторяет, все связывается воедино, все становится важным
When a
для
person
всех в
chants
нашей жизни.
Krishna's name and he's in the Krishna's consciousness, everything
И трансцендентный
comes
образ
back to
Бога,
where
Кришна сразу
it
же
is supposed to be.
И все религии для нас становятся как бы одним.
In all religions for us, they
И
become
весь мир
just one.
становится одним целым.
All the world
Мы
becomes
разделяем людей на
solid,
нации,
and we do not divide people
и
into
время
nations.
по-другому измеряется. Это
And the
благодаря имени
time
Кришны. Этого очень
is
трудно
measured
достичь,
differently.
это
This is
великий
Krishna's
сон.
consciousness.
Фактически мы уже обретаем трансцендентное сознание.
So factually we get transcendental
Даже
knowledge,
обретя трансцендентное сознание,
and also having
можно
received
все-таки споткнуться
transcendental
на
consciousness,
те ловушки и камни, которые
sometimes we can
устраивают,
stump
как случилось с Махараджа Бхараты в прошлой жизни.
over some stones. That's what that's
Поэтому
what
нужно
has happened
постоянно
to
повторять Харе Кришна Мантра.
Maharaj Bharat in his previous life.
Серьезно отнестись
So
к
that's
этому
why you have to
процессу,
chant
который нам
holy
дано
name
читать.
constantly.
Тот, кто обладает сознанием Кришны, не совершает грехов. Недозволенные половые отношения – это самый распространенный вид греха.
So the one who's got Krishna
Почему человек, обладающий
consciousness,
сознанием Кришны, не совершает
he does not commit
греха?
sinful activity.
Потому что незаконный секс в его восприятии – это самое отвратительное
Or
действие,
illicit
которое может
sex in his
совершить
understanding,
сознание.
in an understanding of a devotee, it's the most
И
abominable
сам по себе секс
action
в зачатии
in
детей.
his life.
Нет, сам
Not
по
the
себе
sex
секс в
itself.
зачатии детей не представляет что-то отвратительное. Для зачатия детей это сам Кришна говорит.
Well, when you just
Природное,
beget
полезное
kids,
явление.
it's a natural
Начинать хороших детей, это наше
phenomenon.
будущее мы закладываем.
Begetting good
Читать
kids,
традиции,
it's a good
духовные
thing.
знания, то есть и там есть все смыслы, все чистые
There's a lot of sense in it,
И в этом нет отвращения, поймите.
and
Не то,
nothing
что
is bad
мужчина
about
может
it.
быть отвращение к
You just
женщине,
have to
женщине к
understand it.
мужчине. Не об этом речь идет. А вот незаконный секс – это
But the
эксплуатация
illicit
тела,
sex is an exploitation
живого
of a
тела,
body.
взаимная эксплуатация. Вот
It's
это
a
самое
mutual
отвратительное
exploitation.
действие.
So this is the
Взаимная
most
эксплуатация, которая присутствует
abominable
в культуре.
thing
Очень
nowadays.
извращенная культура, самая извращенная культура.
So that's why
Это
we have this
порождает
very
все
perverted
аборты,
culture.
незаконнорожденных детей,
That's why we have unwanted
разрушение
children,
религиозных традиций.
abortions,
Смотрите, вот что происходит. Это отвратительно.
destruction of religious traditions.
Незаконного секса нужно изжить из своего ума и сердца.
So that's why we have to get rid of these thoughts
Мясом или телом женщины.
out of mind, out of heart.
Это как бы сродни эти вещи. Там, где незаконный секс, Прабхупада говорит, там все виды грехов автоматически пробуждаются.
So when you have illicit sex, all the other types
Они
of
рождаются
sins,
из вожделения.
they also come.
То есть,
Illicit sex is the most prominent sin due to lusty desire.
гуной страсти обрекает себя на
When
страдания.
one associates with the mode of passion, he is implicated in suffering life after life.
Ну, а это одна из причин, почему мы много лекций говорим о семейной жизни.
Well, this is one of the reasons why we keep talking about family life.
У людей. То есть люди заинтересованы, чтобы
So people are interested in having good families, both men and women, because an ordinary person, it is so hard for him to find his place in this world. Of course, there's much Hare Krishna in the movement. We understand that we're like in a big family. So we have these close relationships with other devotees. But an ordinary person, except for his family, he doesn't have anywhere to go. That's why family life, Grihastha ashram, is very important, in a good sense. It's not a problem, it's not an obstacle for your spiritual life. A man should learn how to be brahmachari in his family. It's not like he's brahmachari in his family, but then he goes out looking for a prostitute somewhere else. So brahmachari is not attracted by women. Well, of course, in the beginning, for some time, we are attracted to the opposite gender. So that's why we have to control ourselves. So eventually, step by step, we have to decrease this sexual attraction and increase the spiritual vision. If we don't see a soul in our wife after 20 years of practicing Krishna's consciousness, that's we have a problem. It means that we have just wasted time. But if while aging you see a soul in your wife, that means that you are developing. So you have good children, you perform your duties on a good level, that means you're doing everything correctly. It's not like you see another woman and there's like a tornado in your eyes and you forget about your family, your wife, your children. So this is called pramadā. So if you're not devoted to Krishna, anything can happen to you. You can easily be distracted by a beautiful woman. So that's why Prabhupada says that the only way is to get on the transcendental level, you have to chant Hare Krishna mantra. So this is what kind of text we have today, a very severe one. You see, everything is criticized here, relationships are criticized here. It says here that it's a very dangerous thing. So now we are ready to answer some questions. Dear devotees, please send your questions. Text your questions. It was said today about the importance of brahmachari ashram. And I fully agree with that, with all that you have said today. So we have to pass the traditions and all the values from one generation to another one in order to form the society. So we have to pass the traditions in order to keep the chain, not to break it. And we have to break this mission. Children are our future. So that's why we have to pay a lot of attention, serious attention to this question. So recently we've had a lecture discussing brahmachari ashram as well. So I asked the lecturer about the question if there are any well-organized brahmachari in ISKCON right now. So are there any devotees that both have the good academic education, at the same time they practice devotional service? From the very childhood, children are taught to respect their parents, to bow to their parents. And the lecturer, was Mataji, she said that it's very important that when senior devotees, brahmacharis, they have to be respectful themselves as well. So I just wanted to underline the importance of it, and also I wanted to ask if there's a possibility to meditate on the creation of brahmachari ashram in Kazakhstan, in Almaty. So now we are in the middle of negotiations with one devotee who can share with us all the subtleties of brahmachari ashrams, and engage him in this educational process. So we understand if we do not take care of our children right now, because the atmosphere is very contaminated right now. At least we have to try. Even if it doesn't work out, at least we have to try to organize something like this. Yes, of course, I want to support all that you've just said. Yeah, there's not enough of brahmacharis these days. It's just when you're brahmachari, you have to control all your senses. It's like you have to push yourself, which is not very easy. You have to suppress your feelings and senses. So it's not only that you suppress something or forbid, but also so we have to understand that Brahman in this world is mother. Everyone should know it. That we have to treat women in this regard as mother. Depending on our age, we should understand that can be our mother or sister, just like mother cow or mother earth.
дома остается. Мужчины все на работе в это время. Там женщины, матери, девочки, дочери. И они видят, вот это дочь чья-то, это вот жена чья-то, это мать. Не так всегда видели женщины. Они ходили по домам семейных, брать пожертвования каких-то прохожих. Видели, как устроен мир тоже. Получали от них милость,
So
поддержку.
women,
Любая мать,
they do understand how the
любая
world
мать,
is
любая
functioning
сестра,
better
быть брамачарой,
because
кто рождает, он сразу
the husbands, they
зависит
work
от
all the
влияния
time, and
мужчин.
women, they used to go around
И так они воспитывались в таких отношениях, было легко
knocking
смотреть
at
на
the
женщин.
houses' doors and getting some
Безусловно, так, сейчас, так сказать, есть
handouts,
культуры,
some
так,
charities.
если брамачарь живет, скажем, в Алмате, где-нибудь на ферме, куда он пойдет просить подаяние? Да кто ему даст подаяние? Вот. У нас просто эта культура сейчас, в принципе, нет.
It's just,
Но это
we
могут
don't have
сделать
this
ребята,
culture right now
обучать,
in Kazakhstan at
делать
all, even if you organize
здорово,
something like Brahmacharya Ashram.
здорово, очень
Where
ценно, составляющая упущенная
will he go
просто.
to ask for the
Сейчас мы больше уже
charities
понимаем, да?
if he lives in a farm in the middle of nowhere?
Хорошо, какие вопросы будут у нас сегодня?
Okay, some other questions, please.
Вот у меня еще небольшой хотел заострить, поскольку мне показалось очень важно то, что сегодня сказали. Потом мы перейдем к вопросам. Буквально займет, может быть, 2 минуты. Вы сказали, что хотя сфера душа, ароматма, непосредственно не наказывает. Да, потому что есть достаточно сложные инструменты, глубокие, ямарадж, которые наказывают.
So you've said today about super soul and demigods and the word sanctions.
Он знает все его желания, его судьбу и так далее. Но вместе с тем я хотел вот одну вещь сказать.
And at the same time, I wanted to comment something.
Совесть, как проявляется совесть. И вот
But
такое ощущение,
conscience,
что современная
the way
тенденция
conscience works,
современных людей. Я просто видел документальный фильм, исследование в этом направлении. Сейчас в 2 словах поделюсь.
just also a documentary about how our conscience is manifested and the way it works in the Western people.
Материалистичной культуры. Они говорят, что мы не все можем себе позволить. Понятие греха. И вот эти люди озабочены тем, что вот как можно вот это устранить, чтобы у нас не было никаких преград, чтобы мы могли делать
So in this documentary, it was said that modern Western people,
а потом они говорят, это мы унаследовали, потому что наши предки следовали религии. А религия означает понятие греха и праведности.
they said that usually religion means the notion of sin. So the point is that if you want to get rid of a sin, you just have to get rid of a notion of sin itself. That's what they stick to. So it's either you just become an animal, or you degrade, you really degrade. Or you have to really become a religious person and be harmonious with your eternal voice. So I wanted to underline these notions.
Очень практично, да.
Well, it's very practical.
Хранить совесть как-то нужно. Но они это делают при помощи интоксикации обычно.
Well, these Western people, how do they get rid of these sins? They just do it with help of intoxications.
Изобретают какие-то средства.
You know, they create some things, they invent something.
Вот физические отклонения очень часто можно видеть, депрессии, это расстройство, это все совесть.
You see all these depressions going on right now,
Конфликт с голосом совести, поэтому люди
conflicts with the voice of your conscience.
медикаменты какие-то находят.
So people use some medicines.
Или на зло делают, продолжают совершать греховные поступки, чтобы утвердиться в этом.
Or they just continue committing some sins against people's opinion. Of course, abortions abortions are one of the greatest sins that is happening right now, nowadays. It's taking place, unfortunately.
греха. Вот вопрос. Chaitanya Prabhu, пожалуйста, включайте микрофон.
Харе Кришна. Видите мой. Я хотел добавить, у меня есть пару, почитаю одно предложение. Брахмачарья ашрам предназначен для обучения и привязанных к материальной жизни, и не привязанных к ней. И немного добавлю, что получается...
So there's some comment about Brahmacharya ashram.
Ашрам может быть и привязан, и не привязан, то есть означает...
So Brahmacharya can be attached and not attached to something at the same time. So when we understand that when a person becomes a family person,
психиатров, там, не знаю, медикаменты какие-то находят. Или на зло делают, продолжают совершать греховные поступки, чтобы утвердиться в этом, привыкнуть, приучить себя и других, и распространяют это уже.
Чтобы не обременять себя, делается аборты. Это очень большой грех, который является следствием незаконного греха. Вот вопрос. Chaitanya prabhu, пожалуйста, включайте микрофон.
Брахмачария ашрам
Разве применяются? Если люди опускаются на этот уровень, то там разобраться в этих вещах как-то, вот они ищут потом общество преданных.
Исследовать закону, как здесь говорится, чтобы быть в гармонии с внутренним голосом.
брахмачари, гурукулы, когда молодые люди выходят с гурукулы, и чем они могут потом заниматься. В любом случае потом
So sometimes
в колледж,
young men, they leave Gokula and then what are they supposed to do? Sometimes they just do not know what to do with their lives.
может, группу скажу, альфонсом или еще кем-то.
So then it's hard to stick to the same life, principles.
Вот с этой точки зрения есть, ну, какова статистика есть, чтобы понять, какие ошибки,
So I don't know if there's any statistics
анализировать эти ошибки.
about what kind
И
of
у меня
lifestyle
вопрос
devotees
по
lead after leaving
Ну,
Gokula's
один простой
schools.
вопрос, другой более, как мне кажется, простой вопрос, иначе он ничего не поймет. Ну вот мы распространяем много книг,
So we
и
spread
про 4 регулирующих
a lot
принципа
of books
неизвестно,
and
где человек прочитает
we spread
эту
knowledge
книгу,
about
будет,
4 regulative principles.
как же ну, он тогда как-то будет способен хоть что-то понять. И второй вопрос сейчас
So if this person does not follow any regulative principles, how can he ever understand what it says in the books?
Он что-то же поймет. На основании логики он может что-то
Well,
понять.
he will understand at least something based on these logics.
Люди потом, чтобы разобраться в этих вещах как-то, вот они ищут потом общество преданных.
If you just want to understand these things, you have to seek
Ответы на вопросы,
for the society of devotees,
понимают это. Они ищут духовную
for the
поддержку.
association with devotees.
Если они серьезно там прочитали какие-то книги Прабхупады или слышали лекции о ведической культуре, они
So if you
потом
have listened
просто
to one of
взять
Prabhupada's
духовную
lectures or read
мы вот не все понимаем,
some of his books,
читаем, но не понимаем.
you don't understand everything.
Нам нужно понимание, нужно знание вот эти.
So that means we have to get this understanding, this knowledge.
Регулирующие принципы, там 16 кругов, прочие практики.
And then
И начинают
eventually
в глубину
you
идти
start
знания. Это известно, да.
following these 4 regulative
Поскольку оно
principles,
логично,
chanting
знание, это
Mahamantra.
интуиционно, оно подтверждается ачарьями, то есть много есть таких аргументов, факторов. И то,
Because
что
this
оно
knowledge is all
действительно
proved by
логично,
acharyas, it's all
развивает
logical.
практическую сторону жизни. Людей это убеждает. Многих.
And it
Принимать духовную
convinces
жизнь
a lot of people, this
как
knowledge
таковая,
convinces a lot of
регулирующие
people
принципы.
that this is
Да,
the
они
true
уже
knowledge.
становятся такими. Вот. А насчет брамачари, то, что ты говорил, интересно, да. Потому что, помните, Прабхупада описывает, что брамачари бывает разных планов,
So remember Prabhupada
разных уровней, да?
explains that brahmacharis can be of different levels.
Описывается брамачари там на неделю.
It's like brahmachari for 1 week,
Или брамачари в течение месяца.
a brahmachari for 1
Или
month,
в течение года.
or even for the whole year.
Более строго брамачари. Или полное брамачари.
or the full
И нужно
brahmachari
вот
for his
смотреть,
entire
да,
life.
когда человек учится,
Получается,
когда в гурукуле учится, да, брамачари молодой, нужно понимать его возможности.
So when brahmachari is in
Потому что,
Gurukula
знаете, как
school, you have to
брамачари, он
understand
живет
his
на другой
abilities.
почве вообще растения. Поймите, он может жить на другой почве. Он способен вырасти на той почве, безбрачия, построить свою жизнь, спокойно сможет. Без препятствий. Не нужна будет профессия там, не нужна будет
So real brahmachari, he
Он
can
живет на другой почве вообще, неведомой.
easily
И
exist on
брамачари, которые временно
another
принимают, да,
soil,
вот
so
для
to called.
опыта, даже неделя брамачари, имеется в виду вот в мыслях, да, и на опыте, она приносит огромную пользу.
And
Опыт
sometimes, even if you become brahmachari for just 1 week,
будет помогать
it
человеку.
will anyway bring you a
Месяц
lot
там,
of
или год он там, или на время обучения,
benefit.
это великий опыт.
It's also a great experience.
Но тут нужно смотреть, поскольку он не может полностью пересесть на ту почву безбрачия.
But the point is
Да,
that
ему нужно также
since he
позаботиться,
cannot
чтобы
transfer
он
fully to this
материально также существовать как-то. А это профессия и зарабатывание
soul of
денег.
being
Поэтому
not
и,
married,
наверное, семейная жизнь, как правило. На этой почве большинство людей сейчас живут. Они другой почвы просто не
well, you
знают,
have to
потому что
probably
не
transfer to your
научились
family
обучать.
life.
Но эта почва есть, и опыт какой-то люди получают, например, в брамачари ашраме, ну там сколько, полгода или год, или больше.
Of course,
меньше.
people get
Опыт
different
очень важен.
amount of experience in brahmachari ashram. Some people will get it for 6 months, some for 1 year.
обучают, потому что мы сейчас видим, что нам, ну, наше общество, как мы организовались, что мы даем только пока лишь духовные знания.
So the point is that the way it works in our society right now is we only give the
На данный момент
spiritual knowledge.
я пока не слышал, кто получил варну или специальность, ну, живя вот в наших центрах брахмачари.
It's just I haven't heard of any brahmacharis,
Все занятия
kind of successful brahmacharis these days, in terms of material life.
насколько актуальна Ману Самхита. Мы, да, все практикуем
And the other question is about how Manu Samhita is actual these days.
государственные законы, юридические законы, административные, не дай бог кто-то попадет под уголовные законы. И Ману Самхита это же тоже можно сказать как закон государства.
So Manu Samhita is also, I think, can be called as the law
От того,
of
что
the state,
законы нашего
as a
государства
state law.
могут быть несовершенны за
Because the laws of our
людей, каких-то грехов,
country are
законы
not
человечества,
perfect.
ну, это более за то, что несут люди ответственность. И насколько этот юридический язык актуален, получается,
How much is this
этого закона
juridical language actual these days?
государства. Мы хоть ошибки не знать правильно. Знаем мы, не знаем, нас оштрафуют. Второй, третий раз потом посадят.
So it doesn't matter if we know or we don't know about these laws, but still we go to prison.
Знание Ману Самхиты.
Ману Самхиту нельзя применять, Прабхупад сказал. Если вы
So Prabhupada said that you cannot apply Manu Samhita.
напишите, что если вы будете применять Ману Самхиту, то вы станете млечками,
He said that if you apply it,
вы будете деградировать.
you'll be degrading.
Просто разовьет жестокость.
It will just develop violence in you.
Такие сейчас наказания применять, разовьет просто жестокость в людях.
If you just punish people this way, you'll just become violent.
Страшная картина.
So it's a
Ману
terrible
Самхиту
picture.
сейчас нужно комментировать,
We can only command Manu Samhita these days.
изучать. Сначала дать комментарий нужно, объяснить ее нужно.
First of all, you have to give it some comment,
Происхождение,
explain it,
смысл,
explain its
задачи,
origin,
её
sense,
природу,
and mission, the nature of it,
правила, предписания, законы.
the regulations and the laws.
Сначала нужно объяснить ее природу.
So first of all, you have to explain its nature.
Каким
And
законам
only after
следовать
that you can understand
сейчас в Ектале.
the way it works.
Я слышал, что Бхактивида Пурна с вами пишет комментарий на Ману Самхиту.
Yeah, but I've heard that there's some
Как год назад
commentaries have been written,
скоро будет у нас
have been compiled for Manu Samhita,
Ману Самхиту. Многие преданные интересуются этой Самхитой.
and a lot of devotees are interested in that.
Но законы же все равно, ну, как параматма, да, понятно, сама не наказывает, полубоги, они же действуют по закону
So we do understand that Paramatma does not punish us, the demigods do,
выносят наказание.
and they also act according to some laws.
Другое дело, хоть как его применяют. Другого закона нет.
You see, there's no other law. The point is that
Но, с
how
другой
you
стороны,
apply this law.
закон это, смотрите внимательно, закон применим к человеку.
The law
Это манус
is
анхита
only
для
applied
человека, для
to a
людей.
human, to a person.
Вот. И как Прабхупада сказал, что в западном мире сейчас как бы нет мужчин и женщин, там одни животные.
And
Помните,
as
да?
Prabhupada
Сейчас
said,
нет
there are no
цивилизованного человека.
men and women in the Western
Манус
culture,
анхита
they're only
для
animals.
цивилизованных людей. Это ниже. Паванов и прочее.
So these are not people.
Манус анхита не применяется напрямую.
So this Manu Samhita cannot be applied directly.
Это не ведическая культура.
Because it's not
Даже
Vedic
в
culture that we are living in right
меняются
now.
законы какие-то.
It's a different culture.
Нет. Если люди опускаются на этот уровень, то там уже некая трансформация идет. Вот поэтому приходят пророки, там дают религии.
So people are really going down right
христианская
now.
религия, мусульманская религия, или
That's why we have some
какие-то
prophets
религии
coming
приносят какие-то
to our world these
почитания,
days.
пришел. Потому что
One
уже
prophet and another
доказано,
one.
что неприменимы те законы.
Because you cannot use these Manu Samhita's laws in our society.
Южным людям по закону Ману Самхиты полубоги или кто там выносит наказание, где Марадж там.
Да, там меняются. Наказания нет, наказания обязательно будут, но просто уже они меняют свою форму. Несколько меняют свою форму.
Of course, there will be some
Помнишь, что есть комментарий Прабхупады,
punishments. It's just the form
где он
is
пишет,
changing.
что люди, которые родились вот в культуре млечков, да, там едят мясо, и для них это не является грехом.
So people that
Потому что они не знают, что грешат.
eat
Не
meat,
цивилизованные люди.
if they don't understand that this is a
Для них
sin,
является таким суровым
it
грехом.
might not be even a sin for them, because they don't
Они
realize it's a
деградировали,
sin.
они уже наказаны.
Because they're so
Да.
degraded, it means that they've been already
Но
punished.
всё равно вот Прабхупада
They
говорит,
are
что
already
эти
punished.
аборты, они страшная вещь.
But still, abortions is
Даже для таких людей нецивилизованных, как мы, да, всё равно
a
это
great
опасно
sin,
очень.
even for people not civilized, just like we are.
Всё прощается, ничего не прощается. Просто что-то смягчается.
So they cannot get away with it. Yeah, some things are simplified
Например, общество
because we are already degraded, but still,
и вы делаете что-то, что портит общество, никто этого не заметит.
so we will be responsible for all that we have done.
Такая среда, где как бы грешить можно и еще перевоплощаться человеком после этого. Вот в Кали-югу такая среда создается.
So this environment only
Те, которые хотят грешить,
comes to presence in Kali Yuga age,
как будто цивилизованный человек. Вот как превратности
and we think of ourselves
Но если мы
as
восстановим
civilized
гармонию,
men, civilized people.
Ну да.
Виктор, потом Абирам.
При Кришна, примите мои поклоны, спасибо большое за лекцию. У меня такой
So Hare
вопрос.
Krishna,
Вот,
please
я давно видел,
accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much
между одним известным блогером и одним известным православным священником.
for the
И как раз
lecture.
поднимался вопрос секса до брака. И блогер так с нападкой немножко говорит,
So
вы
recently I have
как бы
watched a lecture between
не
a
даете людям возможность
modern video blogger
потому что, говорит, реальная вот
and a
нормальный
holy
брак,
father,
крепкий брак невозможен без
Christian
хорошего секса. А вы вот
church.
лишаете людей возможности
So this blogger said that, you know, it's not possible to have a firm marriage without good sex.
терпеть до свадьбы, а потом после свадьбы посмотрят друг на друга и скажут, ну, мы на это не писывались, и семья вот как бы
Just what if you don't
И вот
have sex in your family?
такой был формат встречи, где
You cannot keep it. You cannot keep a good family.
не получилось, поэтому хотелось бы у вас тоже
And this blogger, he was very aggressively attacking this holy father.
можно разотождествить эти три понятия, как
So how do we even
секс и семейная
communicate with these
жизнь, чтобы
people?
у них не было вот такой каши в голове, что это все как бы одно и то же.
How do we clarify all these things for such people?
Он, этот блогер, правильно говорит. Он правильно говорит по отношению к людям, которые на животном уровне.
Well, you see, this blogger is actually correct, but regarding people that are on an animal level,
Тоже слабый интернет, вас не слышно.
that behave like animals.
Секретная информация, поэтому не переживайте. Сейчас слышно?
Can you hear me well now?
Сейчас да.
Ну, вот, видите,
Yes.
вот. Он прав, этот блогер прав по отношению к людям.
You see,
которые
this
живут
this blogger might be right regarding people that are on an animal level.
в семейной жизни. Там только сексуальная основа.
Of course, these people, they are based on this sexual enjoyment. They don't need any, they don't need any religion.
не направлено по отношению к вам, которые отрицают Бога. К вам у нас вообще претензий никаких нет. Вы отвечаете сами за свои поступки. Мы говорим для тех, кто хочет духовной жизни.
Just all this knowledge is given to the people that really want it, that are ready to receive this knowledge.
Я просто передаю, что говорят Писания. Я пытаюсь следовать этим
So you have to understand that if you give this knowledge, then the people, they decide either to accept it or not.
Захочу защитить пророков. А вы кого защищаете? Ну вот в таком духе священник мог бы сказать, молодец.
So this Holy Father, he should have said that, yeah, this knowledge is only designed for people that are looking for the knowledge, for the spiritual knowledge.
Так выбрал цветочек, мы же не будем мешать. Даже можем проводить, проводы устроить хорошие. Дать напутствие, как быстрее прийти, тоже можно дать наставление. Побольше грешить, вообще разводитесь, там абортов побольше.
So yeah, you see, if you're on an animal level, we can only give you some instructions, you know, on your own level, so you understand me.
Но, пожалуйста, вот в наше общество не вмешивайтесь, да? То есть к Богу, давайте, если вы хотите прийти к Богу, то идите, если не хотите, занимайтесь своими делами.
So the point is that you just have to tell people that if you want to go to God, if you want to come to God, then do it. If you don't want to do it, so do not interrupt.
В 12 песне Srimad Bhagavatam есть стихи, как раз говорящие о том, что
So
браки
in the
в
13th
Кали-югу
canto of Srimad Bhagavatam,
основой брака, крепкого брака будет сексуальное влечение или то, что
it says that in Kali Yuga age, the basis of a firm marriage will be sex.
Абирам Прабhu, пожалуйста.
Можно чуть погромче.
Хорошо, вы говорите. У меня не вопрос, я хотел поделиться по поводу детей, там, брахмачари. Брахмачари, гурукулы, это в классическом варианте с 10 до 25 лет, да? И это очень хорошая практика.
So the brahmacharya is in age from 20 to 25 years. So it's a great practice.
И вот мы ходили, собирали пожертвования вместе со взрослыми, дети со взрослыми ходили, собирали пожертвования, и вот там какие-то фразы говорили людям, ходили, что вот мы с братом, там, с папой, с дядей, вот на благотворительность собираем. И знаете,
Really, the speech is, the sound is really indistinct.
давали пожертвования, да, и дети общались с людьми. И кто-то, у кого были вопросы, они вот их направляли к взрослым. Ко мне, к кому-то, и они подходили, общались со взрослыми.
So during summer holidays, we were trying to engage children
В восточных странах
to serve other people.
на Рамазан по квартирам дети местные ходят и поют песенки разные и просят пожертвования. Вот. Преданные особо этим как-то не пользуются, не практикуют, но на самом деле можно также и вайшнавы,
We saw some children from
русские колядки поют.
Christian tradition.
21
They would just go and knock on doors and giving away some crosses, like small crosses, and some literature, and we could do the same probably. And giving some handouts.
Родители, конечно, с ними, может быть, сами ходить не могут, но если вот будут такие заведения, как, может быть, групповые, где старшие смогут с детьми, может, не на постоянной основе, пусть на каникулы куда-то из села приезжать, они смогут разные такие вот
Some gifts also.
практики практиковать, применять. А что касается Ману Самхиты, я как-то говорил уже на одной из лекций, когда мы это обсуждали, я слышал, сейчас тоже хочу сказать, я слышал от Мадхамахана прабhu, надо могу ссылку скинуть, он говорит, что Ману Самхита, как и югу, вообще
браться за основу. Манусамхита — это писание для
Комментарий получается. Девочек, у нас есть какие-нибудь обучающие ашрамы? Или как это в этот момент организовывается?
Для девочек,
Харе Кришна.
ну, что-то надо организовать для девочек тоже, а как же? Обязательно. Дома с родителями девочки, и они ходят в какую-то школу, допустим.
So the girls here, they also
Девиц какой-нибудь.
have to go to some organizations specifically designed for girls so that they have some different culture,
Конечно, нужно.
well manners. Of course, they need to go somewhere too, not just boys.
У меня еще один момент получается.
So there's another moment, another detail that I have. So kindergartens,
Вегетарианские, они как
there are some vegetarian kindergartens,
в данный момент тоже
and it's very actual these days.
более-менее хорошим образованием, воспитанием.
So they provide more or less good
В
education.
Алмате есть
Yeah, we do have such
садик,
kindergartens in Almaty.
есть школа,
There's a school, there's a
преданный работник,
kindergarten where devotees work.
уже есть такие.
We already have such establishments. We already have these heroes.
По всему Казахстану, из других стран отдельно. Почему я про эту школу говорю? Потому что вот я искала,
And there's something else that I wanted to share with you.
хотела такую школу.
And I've been looking for such schools these days.
Школа вот в Алмате.
And the school in Almaty
Как мальчики, девочки вместе учатся.
for devotees and girls and boys, they study together.
Хорошо было бы, чтобы
Well,
найти
probably
вот школу,
would
вот
be
как КТЛ,
a
сейчас
good
КТЛ
idea.
называется. Ну, как бы опыт перенять или
To use this
чтобы
experience of
вайшнавские
this
такие
school
школы тоже.
so that you organize Vaishnavas
Вот
schools
вам дети вот растут,
according to the reviews.
хорошие.
The children like it,
Делиться даже не вопрос, наверное, скорее всего.
and they grow good people.
Спасибо. Харе Кришна.
Спасибо.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Виктор, есть вопросы из Ютуба?
Are there any questions from YouTube?
Да, у нас сегодня много вопросов.
Yes, we have a lot of questions today.
Горячая тема.
Probably
Первый вопрос.
because the
Харе Кришна.
topic is really
Есть в ISKCON такие проекты, цель,
actual.
позволяющие всем, кто поступает в Брахмачари ашрам, получать сертификаты, например, ведического психолога, астролога, нумеролога.
So, for example,
Возможно, если они параллельно будут
is it even possible if you enter Brahmachari ashram, you could get some certificate, for example, so that parents would be more interested in that?
То, скорее всего, будут такие же.
Well, if you ask such questions, most probably we will have such schools. Someone has to do it.
В Исконе еще не все есть.
And ISKCON doesn't have everything so far.
Многие проекты мы
Not everything is already created. Some projects haven't even been studied yet, but so please, yeah, render some help,
советуйтесь с теми, кто
take part in
знает,
it,
что это делать.
consult with someone who's been already doing it.
Храмы общаются. Однако вот не всегда
Building temples as well.
мы учимся этому.
So we still learn
Пересаживать
how to do it.
культуру на такую почву тяжелую.
You have to understand that you have to plant this very culture under this
Что-то уже есть очень.
challenging soil.
Вот давайте развивать, не спрашивайте.
We've already been successful in some of our projects, but some of our projects we still have to work on.
Никогда этого не случится.
So otherwise, it's not going to happen. Only we have to do that. So let me give you an example of what I want to tell you. When I was on Radha Kunda,
Сделали так, чтобы мы там пожили несколько дней.
so devotees, they had just organized a place for us, like a living place,
И вот я там
to live close to Radha Kunda. So I've spent several days there,
подумал, вот на Радакунде,
and I thought to myself, while I'm on Radha Kunda right now,
вот парикрамная дорога, вот
so there's Parikrama Road, I can change Japa, what else can I do here?
И тут я встретил духовного брата своего.
And then I've met a spiritual brother, English-speaking one.
Он мне сразу
So
увидел,
he came there to Parikrama.
сразу подошел, говорит, а ты что тут делаешь?
So he came up to me and he said, "What are you doing
Вот
here?"
живу,
And I said to him, "Well, I'm living here.
и что, говорит, что тут, что делаешь?
I've been here for several days." And he said, "Look, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, chanting mantra." He said, "Are you a tourist or something? Do you have any service
Я
here?"
говорю, не знаю,
And I said like, no, I don't know what to do. And he told me, look around, see how clean it is. There are no special workers here. This is all the devotees that are here. They take care of this place. So go get yourself a broom and clean Radhakunda. That's what kind of service you will have. And that's when I realized that this is Krishna talking to me through him. And then I've come to this realization. Indeed. So devotion is not a profession. It is something that you have to do. You just have to talk to each other and join different services. That's how it's going to work. And those who already do these things, they already have good curriculums. People that do not do anything, they're only prone to criticizing. You just have to do something. That's what ISKCON is created for. Render devotional service. Consult with the seniors, copy their experience, take some responsibility, take on some responsibility. So we were cleaning Radhakunda and everyone was happy. So next question, one more question from YouTube. So if a wife is a devotee but husband is not a devotee, so this husband, he wants to have more sex and he cannot live without it. He understands that this is the basis of the marriage. Well, eventually, of course, you can decrease it to 0. By the time they're 90 years old, they will have less sex. Now, if you say that your husband is not devoted, if he's not on this spiritual platform, it's impossible for him. You have to understand it. You have to compromise. You have to find some compromises. But do believe that it's going to get easier when you're 90 years old. So, Dharma Prabhu, please ask your question. Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Well, probably it's not even a question. I don't even know how to call it, probably a compliment or an analysis. So, Karabhajana Prabhu, you've said about brahmacharya in brahmacharis in Almaty. Then Vrajamani also said that brahmacharya living, brahmachari's school is not capable of, he's not adapted to normal life. Because he was taught how to be brahmachari, but then when he leaves the school and he goes out into real world, he doesn't know how to take care of himself, especially how to take care of his family. He doesn't know how to do it. In my case, for example, in the 90s, I joined Prabhupada's movement. So I was already quite an adult person. So brahmacharya was not a problem for me. And then when I left the school, I didn't have any problems because I had already had some experience before that. I knew how to do things because I've already had some experience. But I've seen a lot of young men that didn't know what to do after leaving brahmachari school. And really, a lot of them, they just got lost. There's really few of them that have found themselves in this real world. And they still lead their spiritual, they practice their spiritual life. But most of them, they just got lost in this world. So Karabhajana Prabhu was asking about brahmacharis in Almaty. I think that we have to really think seriously about this aspect. So this is like an addition to this question. I have these thoughts in my head. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. So we have to organize things in the correct way. So if you allow, I'll tell you some story. I've met some brahmachari in Mayapur. You know, there's Kurukula in there. So I've taken some young man to hospital because he had injured his finger. There was some infection. So we were sitting waiting for a doctor. And then I noticed that there was a young man sitting next to us from Gurukula. Very young, probably 16, 15 years of age. You know, they're all so strong because they're doing some sport, some martial arts. All of them are quite strong, with straight back. And when I looked at him, I felt that he had some purpose in his life. I felt confidence in him. I started talking to him. So I found out that he was going to Gurukula. So I was interested in what he saw himself in the future. He said that there were 2 years left for him to finish. And then what? I asked him. Maybe he would become pujari or someone else. So now listen carefully. He said that he would come back to America, and then he would go to military service, to American army. Either as a mercenary, someone else. And I got very surprised. Was it a good thing to do after finishing Gurukula? But then he kept talking. So he said after 2 or 3 years in the American army, I will get some scholarship in order to enter university. So I got relaxed a little bit because I've realized that it was not his purpose to serve in the army. It was just a stage. But then I asked him about the university that he wanted to enter. He said it was supposed to be connected with the law or politics. He said that he wanted to do some politics. And then I asked him, why do you need politics? And then he told me a very important thing. He said, you know, you have to change the world. So wealthy people, wealth is power because power gives you even more power. The ability to influence the society. So you see, this boy, he had this desire to change the world. And I thought to myself, wow, this might be not so bad. It was like 5 or 6 years ago. Well, so probably he's getting closer to his aim, probably. So soon the world will be changed. So it's important in Brahmacharya ashram to take into account this experience. And experienced people, they can already give us some direction. I would direct all the devotees to politics, to education, and the world will be soon changed. The devotees, they just spread all over the place. They just don't want to do that.
Структуры, да,
Вот
тоже.
как вчера, да, или вчера, или позавчера прочеркнули
So
очень
it
важную
was
вещь.
either yesterday or the day
Сейчас
before yesterday.
современная тенденция такова, что не хотят быть кем-то.
The modern
Они
tendencies
хотят просто иметь.
are like,
Не предлагают никаких
we don't
усилий.
want to be anything, we just want to have
Как правило,
something.
так не бывает. Только
That's how the
как
culture
бесплатный сыр в
works
мышеловке.
these days. Free cheese is only in the mousetrap. So there's one more question from Mataji, probably the last question for today.
Харе Кришна, какие преданные, примите на
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my obeisances. Hare Krishna, Chaitanya Chandra Charan prabhu.
Я хотела поблагодарить за объяснение.
So I wanted to
Уточнить один вопрос.
thank you for your
Сейчас Chaitanya Prabhu
explanations.
поднял очень важную тему насчет образования брамачари.
It's a question about the education of brahmacharis.
На занятии
So once
Бхактисиданта Академии преданные, что
I was asked
как быть, когда
about
дети, девочки. То есть Шрила Прабхупада, он в те времена говорил о том, что девочкам лучше не давать.
So Srila Prabhupada used to say that girls are better not to be given higher education. So for them it's enough to be just housewives, like a classical approach to the education of girls. But then nowadays I still can see that a lot of women, even in ISKCON, there's no guarantee that they can marry a devotee that will take care of them, take responsibility for them. There's no guarantee, even if he used to be a brahmacharya, then he probably doesn't know how to take care of his family. So what I see is many women, they're just taking care of themselves. So I wanted to ask you about this generation of kids. So if we as a movement can take care of girls and women, then probably women do not really need some higher education. Of course, if they want to have this education, they will have this education. But usually the values of a woman, this great value is to be mother, to raise children. Just imagine all women go to work just like as men, who's going to be mother? This will be a serious loss, a serious damage to our society. But some women, they are prone to being very active, to very active social life. They just want to be queens and princesses. They learn from their husbands, from their fathers. Sometimes these women, they may have some education even before marriage. So remember, Jayapataki, she was learning from her father. So her father, he would just invite some of the scholars and learn from them. And Jayapataki, she's heard all these discussions. That's how she was educating herself. And she was quite qualified to talk even to Yudhishthira, that knew Dharma perfectly. She was associated with Pandavas and Krishna because she got this education at home. There was no special school for her. She was just communicating with her father. Just because her father had been getting this education for his entire life, she was just listening to that. So now we have no brahmanas or such kinds of parents. So now an image of a modern wife is just standing next to an oven, cooking something, carrying her kids here and there. And there's no image of a home right now. It's not prestigious to be a housewife these days. But matter of fact, this is the basis of our society, the family, where a woman plays the key role. This material world is ruled by a woman. She doesn't need to have this higher education. If she follows all these traditions, she plays the role of Lakshmi in the society. She has to be revered as her. But these days, if you're a housewife and you're dependent on your fallen husband, weak husband, you have to indulge his feelings, of course. It's a very primitive understanding. So now, in this movement of the Lord Chaitanya, women are considered to be equal to men. In the spiritual life, they have equal rights. So women are
Плохо слышно.
My wife, she wanted to say something, but she doesn't want to talk to the microphone. So these years I've been thinking about it, all this Vedic culture, Samhita, some principles, and then I come to understanding that we only accept one side of Vedic culture, but we have to probably take a look at it more globally. It's not like, well, yes, a woman should stay at home. So a woman that was living in that age, during the Vedic culture age, she was very well educated. Even though she was a housewife, she was a very interesting person. She was well mannered. She had this etiquette. She had all kinds of education. She could dance, she could sing. And still we can see girls in India raised in such families. After 2 years of age, these girls are given all these skills. They can dance, they can sing, they go to theaters, and they grow in this culture because they saw their parents communicate and they observe other people communicate, not educated people. So they could make a difference. So probably we shouldn't take just one aspect and make it just one main aspect. So in Srimad Bhagavatam it says that if you just see one movement, one move, you cannot see the whole dance. So the point is that you cannot judge everything by just having seen one move, or one thing, one aspect. So a man, yes, he should have an education, a profession. A woman is perfect in this regard. She already knows what to do. She talks to her mother, to her grandmother, to neighbors. She is already developed. She becomes perfect. When she gets married, she becomes perfect automatically. A married woman is a perfect woman. The point is that they don't even need this education. But of course, if this woman is very ambitious, she will get this education. So I wanted to add to something that you've said. In southern India, we saw that in front of each house there were some amusing pictograms, some drawings. So these girls, they learn how to draw it from the very childhood. So there's another thing, when I'm asked by parents either to give an education to girls these days, so as far as I understand it correctly, this is the responsibility of this girl's father. So how are parents supposed to act? what's the right way to do.
и они вот, не смогут
On the one hand, if you give education to women, she
на такое. У них
probably will want to be emancipated.
как сказать, даже вот сейчас я вижу, как много женщин не может выйти замуж.
Вот это мы должны спросить у себя, Ананда Вриндавана.
So I think we should ask this question to you, Nanda Vrindavana. You are a married woman. You write some books. Is it an interruption for you?
Ну, скажи честно.
I don't know. So tell us the truth.
Ну, я
Tell
не
us
знаю,
sincerely.
просто видите, я же выросла не в вайшнавской семье, и у меня и так много плохих качеств,
You
которые
see, I wasn't raised in a
я
Vaishnava's
получаю,
family,
когда я
and I
начинаю
already have some bad qualities.
Знание Кришны тебе это не мешает, образование, которое ты получил.
So the education that you had received, does it interfere
мне только помогает.
with your Krishna's consciousness?
Ответил на вопрос. В чем же сомнение?
No, it only helps me. So you see, you've just answered this question.
Очень ценно,
Everyone is looking up to you as a very precious person,
что у тебя есть такие
valuable
знания,
person,
и опыт,
because you have this deep knowledge and spiritual practice.
ценное.
You see,
И
this
ребенка еще воспитывать.
this is all very
Героиня.
valuable. You have a child. You're like
Вот спроси любого здесь
a
присутствующего.
hero.
Что реально нет хороших качеств, ну, женских качеств нет.
And it's just when I look at myself, I don't see any
Я думаю, может быть, если девочки не будут учиться,
good qualities in myself.
будут более
It's just what if girls, they do not even
женские,
study in the universities, they will get,
мешает ли это образованию девочек?
А зачем им женские качества, если нет мужчин настоящих?
they will not get all these feminine qualities.
Ананда Вриндавана, непрактично. Я понимаю, о чем ты говоришь. Да.
See, probably it's not all practical.
Брали бы полную ответственность за женщин.
There are no husbands these days, almost no men these days. They can take full responsibilities of the wives.
Получать образование, там, не знаю, то есть нужно учитывать этот момент.
So that's why you have to take this into consideration. Probably a wife will not even be protected by her husband in the future.
Она может уйти от мужа, а дети могут остаться.
You see, there are so many divorces these days. You have to consider all these things. You have to take all these things into account these days. So probably you have to get an education. So I understand you, and this topic is very interesting for all of us. All our aspirations for the better. But unfortunately, from time to time, we have to go back to understanding that we live in Kali Yuga and we don't live in Vedic culture. And just like Prabhupada said, there are no men and women these days. Lord Chaitanya came to the most fallen ones these days to give us this medicine. Just from time to time, we have to go back to understanding that I'm a soul and I need to go back to the lotus feet of God, to my real abode, to my real home. So this knowledge should prevail over all the rest of knowledge. This is the most correct way, and it will organize all the things in our life. So we have to learn from Lord Chaitanya, from Srila Prabhupada. Spiritual practice is the most important thing. All the rest of the things, they should just help us. Did I say it correctly?
Главная мысль, то, что Гурчан хочет сказать, это
So
я
the
не
main
тело.
point is that I am not this body.
Женщинами.
I'm not man or woman.
Практичными.
So be practical.
Сейчас женщины многие просто живут без мужей, без всякого
No, women,
защиты.
a lot of women, they just live without man, without any protection.
Вот быть практичными. Если вы видите, что практично,
So you have to be
девочкам нужно дать
practical.
образование, давайте образование.
If you see that this is practical to give an education to a girl, then give her an education.
Внимание, Прабhu, пожалуйста, кратко, так как
So Rajamani Prabhu,
последний ваш выход.
he's got something else to tell us.
Ну, кратко, может, не получится, но продолжение темы, потому что это... Да, мы понимаем, что
So I'd like to continue this topic. We do understand that I live in Kali Yuga,
нету каких-то, как сказать, общество наше еще по многим
and our society is underdeveloped.
тестировать, к чему готово.
So maybe we should analyze what we are ready for.
And
And
смысл и милость Господа читания, ну, мы понимаем, что никто не отменял. Но вот интересно,
even though we live in
ну, сам процесс теперь,
Kali Yuga,
как сказать, нашего, мы говорим о варнашном, мы говорим о
So we're talking here about varnashrama and life on very mundane levels. And the mercy of Lord Chaitanya is still here. And we have to strive to his mercy, but when we touch upon all these processes, the culture, the raising of kids, so I have a daughter and I have a lot of doubts. It's just, I'm not sure if her future husband will protect her. So that's why I'm trying to give her an education. This is just one detail to raise young people. Then we see other people joining us with really serious karma. And they also want to correct these things that they had done in the past. Someone probably doesn't even see that by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, some things can be solved. So these topics are very interesting. This process is very interesting. So what would you suggest, Rajamani Prabhu? Well, I've already announced it. So we have some courses of Bhakti Shastras and Bhakti program. All this science about Bhakti is really cool. So I think everyone should take this course. So one cornerstone that I see is that these courses, they are paid, and sometimes it's too expensive for some people. So I spend a lot of money for my family. And when my daughter enters college, and then there are some other courses that I have to pay for, it's an unbearable sum of money. Except for the Vaishnavas courses, they should be something else. So we have to understand which Varna this person is, so that we understand how to help this person, what kind of qualities he or she has. For example, there's a quality to forgive people. If you're Brahman or Vaishya, so now I have a problem with the neighbor that lives above me. So how do I forgive this person according to Bhakti Yoga or according to law? You see, I keep asking these questions like every Friday that we meet. Just sometimes I'm really confused. I don't know which way to follow. Well, people tell me you have to tolerate, you have to forgive people. People usually tell me, no, the mercy of Krishna, that's it, don't think about anything else. Just I think that this school of developing knowledge is very important as well. So Rajamani Prabhu, this is a very interesting thing that you are telling now about, and I think I'm starting to understand. Probably I didn't understand it at the beginning, so now you opened up a little more. It's not probably confusion of a devotee, but the point is that a devotee is not sure what to do in this or that situation. He knows Shastras, for example. He's on a high level of transcendental knowledge, but on other levels he's afraid of applying this knowledge because he doesn't know whether it's the right thing to do, whether it's going to be a mistake, or the right thing to do, because he hasn't got this practical knowledge. The point is that it's not this devotee doesn't know what to do, but the point is that this person is constrained. He's restrained. So to use, the point is that we all use our wisdom, our intellect. So brahmacharya, when he goes out into real life, he has to be in the space of his own intelligence. And he has to learn how to act confidently. So this constrainment, it doesn't allow us to make the right decisions. So we have to get away from this fear. Remember Arjuna, he was also not sure what to do because he was based on his fear. And Krishna got him free of all his doubts. So use buddhi, the wisdom that I give you. So in the space of your own intellect, you have to use your own intellect. If you do it in Krishna's consciousness, it becomes bliss for us. So that's what you have to teach to devotees. Every family man has his own unique situation in the family. And it's better not to interfere into this family situation until he asks you. So he has to make decisions on his own. How to educate his own children, even what names to give them, how to call them. Usually parents, they have to give names to the children, not the spiritual master. The father himself, actually. So you have to use this intellect, this wisdom, you have to cultivate it in your family. This is your ashram. This is not brahmacharya ashram, when you just follow some instructions. But in family, you have to act in the space, in the limits of your own intellect, your own wisdom. Well, fear, yes, we do have it. Sometimes I just don't understand what the quality of knowledge means. If you refer to the 13th chapter, where's the false humbleness, where the true humbleness is. Yes, exactly. So look, these things are very relative. The things that you're talking now about are very relative. So in this case, you have to listen to your intellect, listen to your heart, and do not be afraid of making mistakes. Only in this case you can learn. If you're so constrained, you will not have any experience. Well, if it's just about me, then I'm not afraid of making mistakes, but I see some devotees. So some newcomers, they have kind of a tail, dragging after them from the previous life. And they ask me a lot how to regulate their life. And you see, in this case, Bhakti Yoga doesn't work. Even if I tell them, like be kinder, be more caring. These things are very hard for them to attain. So that means that person has to develop some qualities. You see, the answer is just the same. Everyone should act on the same level, listen to his heart and act according to his intellect. That is the way. So you haven't heard my answer yet. You don't have to drag everyone up to an artificial level. Everyone should listen to the heart, use the intellect. Everyone should learn. What does Bhakti Yoga have to do here if a person does not have a profession? When a woman says, I want to have a baby, so give me your blessings, Brahman. Then she comes back in 6 months, and there's no child. But then Brahman asks her, do you have a husband? She says, no, I don't. So the point is that you have to have this wisdom, intellect. So why do we put all this responsibility on ISKCON, on Bhakti Yoga? Where is our responsibility? We have to listen to our heart. We have to take this responsibility for our life. We have to educate our children. We have to organize families, create families. But this is my own responsibility. I haven't asked anyone how to raise my daughter because I am her father. This is my dharma. This is my duty. And I haven't relocated my responsibility on anyone else because I have to take a full responsibility on myself. If I just wait, if I'm waiting for some help from someone else, it's not the right thing to do. So we have to take responsibility for our life. Otherwise, this is not Grihastha ashram. This is Brahmacharya ashram, not underdeveloped intellect, where we always have to be cared for. So let's just get out of this child's condition. If you already have a family, you have to use your intellect that you have and shastras that you have. But look, there's a basis, the spiritual basis. So there are so many things that we are discussing here today. There are some important things. The first thing is the spiritual knowledge, the adequate evaluation of yourself in this world. So we have to understand that we've been given something, now we have to give it to our children, and the way we have to live in our family. So adults, you see, there's no simple formula for that. Can you hear us now? I think we should stop at this, since they cannot hear us. So now it's better. You can hear me now. So I just wanted to say something about the most important things. So the most important thing is that who I am, where I live, and how to associate with this world, how to get all this knowledge. Prabhupada used to say, don't leave anything behind, just to add to your life the Krishna's consciousness. Just get rid of this sinful activity. Very simple formula. Yeah, this is the formula of the Lord Chaitanya. Just be at the same position where you are and add Krishna consciousness to that. I think this would be the perfect answer. So Vrajamani Prabhu, thank you so much for being sincere with us. I think this is very important for all of us. I think all you said is very important. I think a lot of people think of what you have said today. They just didn't announce it. And they live with this question. So thank you for announcing it today. Thank you so much. So thank you, dear devotees. So there's a very short addition, just a few lines. So this will be the last for today. As the host, we will not continue anymore. This will be the last comment. Karabhajana Prabhu is forbidden. He's forbidding class Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam class, I'm sorry. So there's one last comment. So Varnashrama should be built. If a woman spends her energy outside, she cannot be engaged in family fully. A woman must be dependent on a husband. An independent woman will suffer. It's better probably for her to stay alone, to stay lonely. So if you need to get an education, that's okay, get this education. My wife and my daughter, they work, but they're fully dependent on the decision of their husband and father. If the husband is a devotee, what if this husband doesn't have any money? And now it's nowadays, husband means someone who doesn't have any money, and he's fully dependent on her wife. So the formula is okay, of course, Mahendra Prabhu, and we know this formula. But if you take it at this slide from different aspects, we have to come up with different solutions. Until the Vedic culture is not fully developed, there are not enough men like this. We have to find some other solutions. But since Bhajana Prabhu forbids us to continue today, we have to obey to his authority. So thank you so much to everybody. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.